Hey, what's up? I'm Guy.
I'm John.
It's our YouTube channel. Subscribe to it and give this video a like.
Podcast in the description. Go subscribe to that as well.
All right, Middlecoff. How about Jason La Canfora, who wrote this about Mac Jones to the Niners rumors? I don't buy it. This is three anonymous execs. I don't buy it, one AFC executive said. I think it's Fields at 3. An NFC executive, quote, I don't know one way or the other, but I have a hard time seeing Mac Jones the third player in this draft. Another NFC exec. This is the best one. Doesn't smell right to me. Yeah, it doesn't smell right to the rest of us. So I'm glad to read some of these quotes. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I've been having some internal troubles for like a week, so I went and got some fiber gummies. That's you talking about not smelling right. I mean, that's kind of I've been having some Mac Jones coming out of you know where. It's like this does not smell okay, and it works though. And let me tell you, sorry, little inside baseball there. Here's the thing, Guy. It hasn't smelled right
Super
from the
relatable.
jump. It just has not smelled right. I think that guy is onto something. I never remember in recent memory, beside a number 1 overall pick, a Luck, probably a Cam, even the Goff Wentz, thinking back, like there was who was going to be the guy, the Baker year, who was going to be the guy. Kyler, I mean, they kind of kept like this clandestine kind of dark, like what's really going on. Josh is our guy. And Trevor Lawrence, they've basically admitted it, but it's rare the second or third. Like I'm with you. I mean, I'm with the anonymous executives. Now, it doesn't mean I would never go as far as 100% he's not going to be the pick. As someone who doesn't believe he's going to be the pick, I do believe on the pie chart there is a piece of the pie of Mac Jones could be the Niners guy. I'm not naive to the fact that there are some things that add up that way. But when you factor in his words, when you factor in the best players they've had on the Niners, and then when you factor in, when you follow them as closely as we do, the way that they've operated very quietly, right? G's moving silence like lasagna, and that's kind of how Lynch and Shanahan have operated the draft. I think it becomes clear, like, they don't hide stuff that doesn't matter that you know, like Kyle Shanahan. Like, I love Kyle Juszczyk. We want Kyle Juszczyk to stay here. Kyle Juszczyk, I know they want me. I want to stay here. Boom, he stays. Trent Williams, part of trading for him, we had to take the franchise tag out of here. He knows we love him. He knows we tried to sign him all year. Like, they don't hide from that stuff. You know why? Because there's nothing to hide. Like, if he hits free agency, everyone's going to want him. You don't need to be secretive. I do think in the draft, and I think you could piggyback on every story that comes out of the draft, like Jerry Jones loves Kyle Pitts. You could not follow this stuff for a living or as a diehard fan for a long enough time and just not red flag all these headlines, right? It doesn't mean that Jerry Jones and the Cowboys don't want Kyle Pitts, but it's like, are they really putting that out there for a reason? Because that's what I think.
Yes.
I don't know what the reason is, but are they really putting Mac Jones out there for a reason? That's what I think. Even though Jerry might love Kyle Pitts, Kyle truly might want Mac Jones. I guess I question it.
Yeah, I mean, and I think it works two different ways. The reverse of that is they don't share things that don't. You're right. They definitely, the things they share are things that don't really matter. But I would also add there are some things that we think don't matter that matter to them that they don't share. And I would say, to go back to the Belichick thing, I still think there was something untold about the way it all went down with Bill. And you remember the way the Niners talked about it afterwards. Lynch, especially when they did interviews after that trade, he was always holding something back, right? About kind of exactly how that deal or why that deal. I still think there's something mysterious between the two of them that the Niners kept quiet, which maybe serves them well now and serves Bill well now. But as it relates to this, I think I read some of these quotes and it makes me wonder if, okay, how much of all the stuff that everyone was saying about Mac Jones, and I'm not dancing on that grave because you're right, it's still a possibility, but how much of all that stuff was just people kind of following that if we really pulled the string on where it came from 1 or 2 places, right? That it wasn't really 30 different people hearing it from 30 different places. It was, I don't want to say groupthink necessarily, because I know you asked around and some people were coming up with it from real places. But anonymous execs read the articles too. That's why they're quoted anonymously. Like,
well, I think Adam Schefter, who's been on this podcast, did write Mike Shanahan's book.
1,000%. But I'm just saying, then 30 other people kind of said it too, and I'm not saying they were making it up or just following Adam at all. I think they might have been talking to other NFL people who thought it. I'm just saying your anonymous execs read all this stuff. So you talk to 500 people over the course of 2 months, and now which one was real? Which one did I read? Which one did somebody tell me? Here's one thing that happens all the time. I give you respect. You don't do this. But I hear this a lot from people. It's like, I'm hearing. It's like, you're hearing it or you read it on Twitter? Which one? Because that one gets a little cloudy.
I'm not a reporter.
No, I know. And I'm not even saying reporters. I think reporters are not the people I'm talking about here. I'm just talking about in general conversation. I don't even think people are trying to be deceitful necessarily. But I'll just get a text message like, I'm hearing XYZ. And I'm like, just to be clear, you're hearing it or you saw it on Twitter? And they'll be like, no, I saw it on Twitter. It's just a way people talk. And I want to know the difference between the two. So here we go again now. 3 people saying the opposite. Of course it smells funny. Of course it does. But I don't know. My point is, I don't feel any differently about Mac Jones after reading the Jason La Canfora article than I did a week ago. I don't know what any of it means.
100%. But I do think just because every year this time, so much has happened since the last time you're here every year, right? Once you get to April 1st, it's hard to remember the previous April 1st because you just go through the entire season, right? It'd be one thing like if something happens with a child and a year later, but not that much stuff happens in your life, like it stays pretty like at the forefront of your mind. It's impossible on the football calendar for like, I remember last year when they were saying this, and this. Well, we've heard so many stories, especially, this year, but even in a non-corona year, it's like, then training camp happens, then some trades happen, then the season happens, and then 7 million things happen during the season. Then you get the playoffs, then you get free agency. It's hard to remember like this is a thing that happens every year because you just kind of feel like this is happening again.
Yeah.
Even though then it happens, the draft then comes around. You're like, oh, of course they were going to take Justin Fields, right?
Also, if it all happens all the time, it's hard to remember which one was real and which one wasn't. Sometimes there's exceptions. Sometimes there aren't. Last year doesn't have anything to do with this year.
I think part of it is right. I think the difference too, probably even with my child analogy, is every year it's new people, right? Every year it's just new players in a draft,
new needs.
So it's not like Mac Jones is like, remember Mac Jones been in this draft 3 straight years. Like this, the hype is fake, right? No, it's like because next year there'll be a new Mac Jones. His name might be Guy Middlecoff. And we'll be like, how about this dude from Florida Atlantic that came out of nowhere? And that's what. The NFL is like, cha-ching. That's why we print money, because every year it's this new crop of sweet dudes. It's one thing that the NBA has really lost. Like, we really know these guys in the draft. Like, when I was growing up, we've never had it in baseball because you just don't know the guys until they get to the big leagues. But when we were kids, basketball and football, you just rode their careers in college. Right. Obviously, football for 3 and basketball minimum a couple. Like, I watched Allen Iverson for 2 years at Georgetown. I watched Jay Williams, whoever. You can just go through the list of people in the 90s or the early 2000s. So when that happens, Mac Jones is a really big deal. He comes from the best program. He's just a he replaced Tua. His story is just going to be unique. And next year there'll be a Joe Burrow, Zach Wilson in that class that will have good and bad things coming out right before the draft. And this is what I think scouts always get hammered home by their good GMs and coaches. Like, you got to take every individual as their own entity. Like, Mac Jones has nothing in common with anyone previously. Now, his skill set might, but just his story, the draft that he's in, that's a huge part, right? The draft you're in is its own marketplace. If Mac Jones was the only quarterback, let's say Trevor Lawrence, all the other 4 guys did not exist, I'd be like, I get it. Like, there's only one quarterback. You kind of might be a little Daniel Jones situation, but he's not. I think why he's such a needle mover, it's like, how he's not as talented as these other guys, right?
Where would Justin Herbert go in this draft?
See, I think it's that I hear that a lot. The Justin Herbert we talk about today on April 13th is dramatically different than the Justin Herbert who, again, even the people that liked him, like you and I liked him. I knew a lot of people that liked him. Guy, everyone loves him now.
I know.
Based on his rookie season, he would go 1.
No, but see, I'm saying the opposite. I hadn't heard anybody say that. I'm saying, based on the way we talked about him, would Herbert be going 4th in this draft? 5th?
Yeah, I don't think he would be a lock to go 2. I don't think he'd be a lock to go 2.
No way would he be a lock. Absolutely not. If you're thinking Mac Jones over Justin Fields, then you're thinking Mac Jones over Justin Herbert.
Yeah. He'd probably go in like the 4 to 8 range, I'd guess. Ranked on the quarterbacks, I bet Zach Wilson would be viewed higher. I bet people would like Justin Fields more.
I don't think he'd go any earlier than the 4th quarterback. I think that would be his ceiling.
Yeah. Well, we talk about him like a little bit like Justin Fields, but less explosive of an athlete, right? Very similar. The processing, he misses some easy ones, but he's got physical tools. Justin Fields would go ahead of Justin Herbert based on Oregon and Ohio State, yes.
I
you
think
agree
that
this?
Is the comp.
If he came back in this draft based on just his rookie season, is he a lock to go 1?
Go
you
ahead
could
of
not take Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah,
Could you take
based
Trevor
on,
Lawrence?
No, the guy just set a rookie record for touchdowns, but not even that. Just looked incredible.
Yeah,
Looked incredible.